What's up, y'all? It's Jeff Cobb, and you're listening to Ricky and Clive Wrestling Show on Social Suplex Podcast Network.
You're listening to the Ricky and Clive Wrestling Show. Listener discretion is advised at all times.
Hello and thank you once again for downloading and listening to another episode of the Ricky and Clive Wrestling Show, part of the Social Suplex Podcast Network. My name is Clive and I am joined by Ricky. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Good evening.
Later on tonight we will be joined hopefully by Rance Morris to discuss in a bit more detail some NXT TakeOver Portland, but to start the show we've got a rather interesting guest to say the least. And this wee plug has been stolen shamelessly from the Sportskeeda website. Our guest is a freelance reporter who has interviewed the likes of Triple H, Stephanie McMahon, Chris Jericho, Kurt Angle, Andrade Almas, Nikki Cross, Tyson Fury, and this past week NXT Women's Champion Rhea Ripley. He also creates video content for BBC, and his work has been sourced by Fox, CNN, NBC, MSN and Bleacher Report and TalkSport. He is also featured in an official trailer for the fantastic Total Divas. But more recently he's ended up in the centre of some pretty controversial topics, and his name sort of rose to infamy, shall we say, when he asked Triple H about Paige potentially returning to the ring, where then a tasteless joke was made and the whole thing grew more arms and legs than the Dark Order, basically. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show, Sportskeeda's Gary Cassidy. Gary, thanks very much for coming on.
Thanks for having me on, and thanks for the introduction. That when you chuck my name next to a load of their names, I'm like, that's quite nice. It means that mine can fall into the background a wee bit.
It's definitely, it's quite a list of accomplishments.
Aye, well, it's one of the things that, like, if I look back to 2 years ago, I started writing about wrestling about maybe 2 years and a couple of months ago, and I hadn't interviewed any wrestlers, so it's been a lot in a short space of time. So I've had a lot of good opportunities, so it's the kind of thing I'm very grateful for it.
Excellent. So we know that you're a bit strapped for time tonight, so what we'll do is we'll just fire some questions at you and just sort of let the conversation take its natural course.
Feel free, I'll try and answer absolutely anything as best as I can.
Good stuff. Ricky, do you want to start us off?
Yeah, I'll start us off. I just want to add to that introduction, we should have put the end of it, aka a pretty big fucking deal.
Cheers, man, I'll take that.
No, so obviously, like you said, you've been at Sportskeeda for a couple of years now. At first, you were publishing opinion pieces. I want to say, am I right in saying that? And if that is the case, when did you start to transition from that to kind of reporting on wrestling and interviewing wrestlers as well?
So it is a bit of a weird one. Like, I still do the odd opinion piece, but they've obviously kind of fallen by the wayside when I've been doing more interviews and stuff, just because they're a bit less of a priority. It's actually a weird one, so I'll try and keep this bit short. I studied journalism when I was at university and ended up I done a wee bit of news journalism here in Glasgow, and realised very quickly it wasn't something I wanted to do. It was like shadowing kind of court cases and stuff. So I done a wee bit of music journalism after that for a bit of fun, and then just fell away from it completely for years. And then it was a couple of years ago, just started writing for Sportskeeda. Weirdly enough, the first ever article I wrote, I was like half wrestling, half football journalism with them. So the first ever article I wrote was a photo of John Cena holding a Spurs top went up. And I was like, okay, I'll chuck a wee news article about that. And then they were like, your work's quite good, we'll bring you into the team. But again, like I said, I started that in like December a few years ago. And then it wasn't until my very first interview was the April. And that was one of the ones I'm quite enjoying this, writing about wrestling, writing all my opinion pieces and writing the odd news piece. So what actually happened was Elias had done an interview with Guitar World, I think it was. It was one of the guitar magazines, and I covered it, like obviously quoted I've credited them when I used the quotes, and I got a wee message for the person that had wrote the article, essentially thanking me for covering it, because they get quite a bit of fame for us covering it because it was a wrestling website and covering a wrestler, but they'd done it for a guitar magazine, obviously, and they're like, oh, if you want me to hook you up with anybody, and I was just like, that's one of the things, everybody says it, but it never comes to any fruition. And it ended up, they were like, oh, we can hook you up with either DDP or Jim Ross. And I'm like, either of them will be nice. So my first ever interview with a wrestler was with Diamond Dallas Page, which I was like, right, it can only go downhill for here because I'm never going to interview anybody as big as Diamond Dallas Page.
That's crazy.
And now it's been quite good. So, like, this month, or ever since the start of this year, out of all the articles I've written, I think 2 haven't been interviews or exclusives. But I still do the odd wee opinion piece, but it's a wee bit of a change because sometimes you feel like, is it like an interview on maybe the more I'm posting on Twitter and stuff, you maybe can't put as much opinion in because some people get really upset by it. But a wee bit of a change.
So, see, with regards to the journalism side of things, I don't think Ricky feels as strongly about this, but I am personally very sceptical when reading these scoops from journalists, and I know from a recent tweet from yourself that you don't like to be identified necessarily as a journalist. Is that so you would distinguish yourself from those that just post the clickbait articles like your Ringside News and Pro Wrestling Stream and all that stuff?
Aye, so it's the kind of thing, I hate like burying other quote unquote journalists, but it's like one thing where I'm like, I never ever wanted to call myself a journalist at the start to begin with, because I'm just a wrestling fan that like is alright at writing, so I'm quite happy just like being like a wrestling fan that writes. And then obviously now with interviews and stuff, you kind of need to tag the journalist bit onto the end of it. But for me, I prefer to say, like, I know it's not the main thing, but I'd say I'm like a wrestling interviewer because that is the thing I really enjoy doing, and thankfully I've been able to add enough names to kind of credibly call myself that, rather than it's definitely. Like I've recently done one interview. But it is kind of, so when I first started writing for Sportskeeda, I make no bones about this, Sportskeeda had a really bad reputation due to a previous writer that worked there, who I won't say the name, but it was in Big Brother in the UK, so a lot of people might actually know who he is if they Google him. But he put out some very controversial tweets, ended up getting sacked for Sportskeeda, and that was like about 6 months before I came in. But my thing was always, I don't pretend to have sources. I will never pretend to have sources. The only time I've ever put out an exclusive and no attached the name of the person that has told me the news was back when Luke Harper, Sin Cara and the Ascension all got released. And essentially I reached out to one of those names just because I'd spoken to them before. And the name will come out eventually because I'm going to interview them and in a couple of weeks. I've not got the date planned, but it's definitely going to happen in the next few weeks. And they said that they'd rather not have their name attached to the quote that I put out because it was so soon. And I'm like, that's fine, as long as I can narrow it down to the 4 names, and that's the only time I've ever had an anonymous source in quotes. But that's, like I always say, if I reach out to a venue, I'll always say if a spokesman at the venue, I'll never say backstage sources or anything like that. So I think I'm with you, I'm very sceptical, a wrestling journalist. My main thing, and I've put a tweet about this in the past couple of days, and it's something I'll always stand by. See, anybody, no matter who you are, if you're a wrestling fan, if you're a journalist, if you're an outlet, see if you say rumours are suggesting or you quote any rumour, make sure you put the name of who the rumours came from, because some rumours, the second you get the name of who it's came from, it's not even worth discussing. The most recent one you mentioned there, like Ringside News, and again, I don't like burying anybody, but they put out quite a lot of work for a guy called Brad Shepherd, who I used to talk to like a long time ago, and again, I had nothing against the guy apart from the fact that I was very sceptical of his opinions and of his sources as well. I've got nothing against, I don't want to say I've got nothing against the guy, but I don't really spend time kind of talking about him. But he blocked me randomly and did so with the same as a rest of wrestling reporters and quotes. And it's the kind of thing where you go, names like that, if something comes out, I always say there's maybe 5 names that I will believe almost anything that comes out of their mouth, and this, I never normally assign credit to any specific journalist apart from a few names. But if you read something for Alex McCarthy at Talk Sport, if you read something for Sean Ross Sapp, if you read something for Ryan Satin, those are the 3 guys in the main, that if I'm checking out something, if one of them verifies it, I'm probably going to believe it because they're legitimate. Everybody else, I think there should be a little bit of scepticism in anybody's mind, and all you can do is have a quick Google, look and see what they've reported. If stuff has came to fruition and they've been the first source, then it's quite easy to say, aye, they're legitimate.
Because I didn't even realise it was Brad Shepherd that did that ringside news stuff. But
so it doesn't. I'll say that just to clarify that he's technically, if we go black and white, he's nothing to do with ringside news. But they are one of the only sites who report on what he reports now, and they do have an affiliation. But he's not an employee of theirs.
That's fair enough.
It's funny that you brought up that tweet that you made. I think it was was it 7 or 8 days ago, about the journalism, and you should whoever started the rumour, you should post it alongside it. Just a quick follow-up question, because I took a screenshot of that tweet because I was like, I want to ask him something related to that. Do you not think then, for instance, if someone comes to yourself, whether it be a WWE employee or a wrestler directly, comes to you and says, this is how I'm feeling, or this is potentially what's going to be 6 months down the line, this is what's going to happen at SummerSlam or WrestleMania, if you were to put that out there and you quoted saying, I got this information directly from Paul Heyman, for instance, do you not think maybe that could, as a journalist, I know, like you say, you don't want to identify yourself as a journalist, but do you not think maybe that could harm the relationship, that maybe someone's putting something out there that the other person doesn't want out there? But does that maybe tie back into the fact you say, well, I won't quote someone unless they kind of give me permission to do so?
Aye, so that's the kind of thing. Again, I've not ran into that yet, but I am aware that could be something that does happen down the line, and also just the fact that if, say for instance, I became pals with somebody that worked in WWE but wasn't like a prominent name that somebody knew, then I might actually need to eventually backtrack on that. But I do feel like, and again, I don't want to, this sounds like I'm going to put myself over, but see if I was to put out a tweet that said maybe a backstage source, no, that I really don't want to do that, but if I was to do that, I think because I've interviewed that many people might realise that I wouldn't put out a false rumour to try and say something, because it might harm my relationship with WWE and getting interviews and stuff like that. So I think it's a case of building up credibility before they can do stuff like that. Because like I said, Alex McCarthy, he'll say stuff and it comes from a source and he won't name the source. So it is kind of, the rumour thing was more based on, say rumours suggest that Hulk Hogan is going to wrestle at WrestleMania, then I should say if that has come direct from me or from whatever sources, or say if it's came from, say, your Ringside News or any other website, just so that the accountability is on the first person, because if I say that rumour, then I'm accountable for it, but people don't actually hold people to account, so people will just believe any rumour they read. But that is a very good point you make about if Paul Heyman was to say something to me. So just what I would do in that scenario is I would ask, we'll say Paul Heyman. I just want to clarify, I'm no pals with Paul Heyman. I wish I was.
Not yet, anyway.
No, definitely. He's one that's on the dream list interviews. But say he was to say something to me, I would clear it first. One, am I okay to put this information out there? And then if he said I would say two, am I okay to attribute it to you? Or do I need to say it's from an anonymous source? And if it wasn't the latter, then it would depend for me. If it came from Paul Heyman, I would be inclined to put it out there as fact, because I can say that he's probably a credible source. But if it was, we say, an employee at WWE, I would try and verify it from a second and most likely a third source. And then you're just kind of covering your bases, because things have happened with reputable journalists who have got things covered by, say, 3 sources, and then the WWE superstar they've been talking about has came out and refuted the claims. And obviously that, no matter how many sources you get it verified by, and even if it's true, as soon as the person that it's about refutes it, then it's lost all credibility.
That sounds like Ryan Satin reporting on Sasha Banks.
You're spot on there, Andy. And again, he spoke about it on the Chris Van Vliet interview, and again, kind of, he said that he's quite happy to leave it behind him, and obviously a lot of people still hold it against him, but he said that completely changed the way that he reports on stuff, and that is the kind of thing where I'm going, no matter if he could be telling 100% the truth, and that could have happened, but the second it's been refuted by a WWE superstar, you kind of just need to take it as take it as false.
That's it. My next question, and you actually, again, you mentioned something right there, people not being held accountable to said rumours starting. You mentioned the likes of Sean Ross Sapp. Sean Ross Sapp is personally one guy I would also trust. You mentioned Alex McCarthy, Ryan Satin. In your honest opinion, what do you feel about the likes of Dave Meltzer, Brian Alvarez? You've also obviously mentioned Brad Shepherd there, but mainly those two that I've said, because I think, for me, I think a lot of the times when Meltzer says something, sometimes there is a lot of truth to it, because, I mean, he predicted Brock and Roman Reigns are going to main event WrestleMania 1 year in advance. I think he announced it like the weekend of the WrestleMania where it was Roman Reigns and Undertaker were main eventing. But it goes back to what you're saying, not being held accountable. I think with him having such a big fan base, I feel like if he says something, a lot of his fan base gravitate to that, and that's it. They automatically have the same opinion. I think he has an opportunity to be like this great ray of hope in a sense, rather than being so negative at times. But
yep.
I don't know. I'm just curious to see how you feel about those guys.
So Meltzer for me is right. I put it into two categories for me, and this is something that, again, I think with the opinion articles and stuff, you can be on a very, very difficult tightrope to walk. So for me, again, the Meltzer thing's about accountability. A lot of stuff he reports, and he does report as news, it is actually news, and he definitely has. I'm not going to say that he definitely has just now because I can't verify it, but he's definitely had sources in WWE at some point. And I think that's like he's got things right. You can't dispute that. The things that people would say he gets wrong, I'm always kind of, again, this is a difficult line because a lot of things he says are reports, but a lot of things he says are opinion. And then it's a kind of tricky thing where it always gets lost somewhere in translation between it coming out of Meltzer's mouth or coming out his keyboard and going through a different website or going through
Chinese whispers,
basically.
That's
tweeting about it. Essentially, it's going to result in Meltzer said this is happening. And a lot of the times, if you look back at what he's said, he's no said it's happening. A lot of times he has said, this could be where they're going to go with it, or my opinion is that it would be good to do this. Yeah. But again, the reason, I think, and through no fault of his own, but Dave Meltzer's compromised because of the 5-star match thing, and a lot of people disagreeing with his opinions on ratings of matches, which is something I'll not get into because I would never rate matches. I just think it's the kind of thing that you're setting yourself up to be completely bombarded with all sorts of different opinions. Mm-hmm. But I think that has compromised his no journalistic integrity. That's a bad thing to say because I do think he's got integrity, but the way he's been pretty much, I think it's overexposure. I think he is seen as the very top of wrestling journalism, probably has been for the past 30 years or something. But I think because of that, everything he says is taken as fact. And whether it's his fault or no, a lot of people will just put it back out there as fact. Uh-huh. And then everybody will believe it because he has a credible source, or at least was. So everybody will take everything he says as fact. And then when it doesn't happen, he's lost all credibility. So I wouldn't put him anywhere near the same bracket as Brad Shepherd, but he's definitely him and Brian Alvarez in particular. Their opinions for me sometimes can border on distasteful. There was something that Brad Shepherd, I was going to say that everything he says is distasteful. But the Dave Meltzer one recently was he said something about female wrestlers selling their ring gear and putting out photos on behind paywalls. And essentially said the women with the better bodies will be able to do that for more money, kind of thing. And I was like, that's a bit crass. That's not for me. So things like that. But again, I'm not going to sit here and say I'm perfect. Everybody can open themselves up to any kind of comment online because that's just the way the internet is. And obviously, wrestling journalism is quite a big catalyst to open yourself up. So, but I would say it's the kind of thing where if you hear somebody reporting something from Meltzer, obviously a lot of stuff's behind a paywall, so people are only going to pay to go back and check what the actual quote is, but try and find the quote and then decide for yourself if you believe it or not.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I think my biggest issue with Meltzer, like I say, is I think a lot of the things he reports more often than not turn out to be true. more often than not. I think my opinion is his opinions are very strong and aggressive. And I think because he has such a big fan base, a lot of the people then say, well, if Dave says that, we should feel that way. And it's the same that he comes out and says potentially we're getting John Cena versus Elias at WrestleMania, and he says, quote unquote, that is extremely underwhelming. That may be so, but I'm pretty certain John Cena, who quite frankly is in the Mount Rushmore of wrestling, has enough say-so and power to say to Vince McMahon, I don't want to come back and wrestle Elias. I'm pretty certain John would have signed off on that if this happens. So maybe it might be underwhelming to some people, but John Cena quite clearly, if this does happen, is fully invested in that feud. So, like I said, I think a lot of his opinions on things are, if it doesn't take place in New Japan or AEW, it's a bit, he's very biased, I think. But at the same time, I think he has also said something along the lines like, if you get like a 3.5 star under a WWE, that is the equivalent of having like a 4.5 to 5 star match in New Japan, just purely because of the different wrestling style and how they book things. But,
I'd agree with that in terms of the kind of opinion being kind of compromised a wee bit. But that was even when you report something like the John Cena and Elias thing, if your next sentence is your opinion on it, then again, through no fault, no matter how credible the first line is, when you put your opinion afterwards, people will take it as opinion, and that kind of discredits it. The personal note on that was I'd actually, again, no source said it in the way, so this was purely opinion, but there was a tweet about who would you like to see John Cena face, and I was like, there is the obvious name, but I'd like to see him face Elias because of the last couple of years at WrestleMania, so I think the story's there, so that's one personally I think it's quite a good story.
Yep.
So moving back to yourself, you first came on our radar on ICW's Facebook page with a few videos for BBC, and then you were on the Grado and Rab Florence's Wrestling Daft. You do quite a weekly segment with that now, and since then, since this whole stuff with Triple H and Paige on the BT Sports bus tour in January, you've blown up basically. You're a big name from my perspective. But you've also got a full-time job, so you've got all these names that you've interviewed recently, and you've got Regal, Rhea Ripley, Trent Seven, Stephanie McMahon. You've got all these big names. How are you able to juggle all that alongside your full-time job?
Good question. Well, we're very unhappy fiancé is probably the best way I can answer that. So basically, again, up until say the turn of the year. So I do a full-time job, and I'm quite happy to disclose what that is. I'm a subtitler for BBC Channel 4, Channel 5, pretty much just creating the subtitles for all live and pre-recorded television across the UK, and that's something that, again, it's shift work. So I could be working 6 till 2, I can be working 4 till 12, whatever, but it's just the kind of thing where, because it's shift work and just because I'm obviously doing the wrestling journalism, I'm not going to say that's always going to be the way, but again, up until so the reason January was so big, and you mentioned the Triple H and Paige thing, what happened was I managed to essentially get like WWE access, which I have been getting for the past maybe almost a year, but I got it on a bigger level, and got to go into like NXT UK TakeOver Blackpool 2 and cover that, and then through BT Sport and WWE's move to that, just it so happened that same week, a couple of days later, BT Sport were doing a launch party, and I got to go and do interviews on a BT branded bus, and then go to the launch party that night. So that for me, what it involved was a few kind of swapping shifts with some of my very kind colleagues, and taking some annual leave, which eventually would mean I was off work for say 10 days for my actual day job. But like I'd say like the wrestling that I'm going, it's not really so when I went down to Blackpool, I was 8 in the morning till say 2 o'clock in the afternoon doing interviews, which some people will say it's a job. For me, I was getting to talk to wrestlers.
Exactly,
brilliant.
I know.
And then the next night I was obviously going to TakeOver, and then like the BP thing again, I was on a bus talking to wrestlers, absolutely brilliant, and then going to a launch party, watching some wrestling, drinking some free beer. So it's a kind of thing where I'm going, for me it's not really juggling a job, because it's something I'm passionate about. And I think that's the cut-off for me, where I'm going, if it starts to feel like a job, I would probably stop doing it. So I probably would end up just with the one job. But no, I find it really easy to juggle the two of them. We'll see how that goes for the rest of the year. But I think if I go through January, because that was probably the busiest month I'll ever have, but if I go through that, I think I'll probably be fine going forward.
I'll fire off two quick questions here. The first, obviously, you're talking about you getting a lot of WWE access. Are you potentially getting any access to AEW wrestlers at all anytime soon? And the next question, obviously, when Triple H made that joke about Paige, as soon as he says it, what was kind of going through your head? Because for a moment it kind of seemed like it was like, what did he just say? Kind of like almost awkward, or like a split second where it was just sort of silence. I kind of have an idea of himself what he meant by it, but I'm just keen to feel what you feel about that.
So very happy to answer both of them. Like I always say, I'm an open book when it comes to it. And so the AEW stuff, again, I've got like a wee bit of access to them, which involves being on conference calls with Cody Rhodes. All of them have been with Cody Rhodes thus far. AEW haven't done a media conference call with anyone other than Cody Rhodes. So I've been on those calls. I've spoke to Cody Rhodes. I have interviewed AEW folk, but not through AEW. Right. So it's a wee bit of a tricky one where I interviewed Chris Jericho, but that was through the Chris Jericho cruise. But obviously I did speak about AEW because, again, most people are quite happy with asking anything as long as you ask it in the right way. I've spoke to Marco Stunt, but that was before he was in AEW. And then the most recent one was Dustin Rhodes, who I actually was speaking to about his acting career, at which I've contacted his acting agent to get that interview. And then also was like, it's for a wrestling website. Is there any chance I can ask, like, maybe split the interview half and half about the acting, half about the wrestling? And they understand, because I'm going, who's going to read about, like, people will, but who's going to read about Dustin Rhodes acting in comparison to who's going to read about both Dustin Rhodes acting and Dustin Rhodes in AEW? So if you group the two together, more people are going to read and they'll get more eyes on it. So that's the kind of thing that AEW, I'm hoping that I'll get more with them going forward. We did have discussions back in January, and they said to look back round in February to get an interview. They asked me for a few names. That didn't come to fruition because the conference call came up, but they're saying towards the end of the month, hopefully the chance will be there. So hopefully it will happen. I'm looking forward to it because I've not interviewed many people for there. Like I said, I spoke to Cody Rhodes, I've spoke to Chris Jericho, I've spoke to Dustin Rhodes. I would be delighted to interview any of them again, and obviously anybody else. The Triple H one, so you're pretty spot on with what you said in terms of, so we are sitting there, and it was me that asked the question. It was the second question that got asked on that round table, and this was very early in the morning, and it felt like it was trying to wake us up a wee bit and kind of make the odd wee joke in the first question. And then when I asked that one, the way I see it, and when I spoke to Paige, she kind of confirmed that she thought this as well. I thought he said, for anybody that doesn't know about it, what I asked was, do you think Edge or Paige will return at the Royal Rumble? Thankfully one of them came true, but it kind of got overshadowed anyway. But I asked that, and essentially Triple H was talking about he'd love to see them both back in the ring. Who wouldn't he? Put both of them over quite a bit, but that all got lost because the comment he said was, what comes first is their health. And he said, Edge has got kids, Paige, and then kind of stopped himself. And I believe he was going to say Paige has got kids, and he realised that there was a recent news story that Paige can't have kids. So I think he thought that was going to be a really bad comment to make. Stopped himself for saying that, and then made a joke that it depends. Public opinion is probably overall that is quite a distasteful joke. I'd probably agree with that, but I don't think there was any malice in it whatsoever. And it was just, Paige has probably got some kids somewhere. And I do think it was a harmless joke. But that was, I was just lucky that when I asked that, the very next interview I was going to be doing was with Paige, so I knew I could follow up on it. But I get called out for not immediately asking Triple H what he meant by that. But a lot of people don't realise this was in a room full of, it was 30 journalists trying to get through as many questions as possible, just sitting round a table. Thankfully I got to speak to him later on that night, but it was the one later on that night was restricted to NXT UK questions because it was following the event. Mm-hmm. But this, it's a kind of thing, there was a hush and then a kind of awkward laughter, and I think people, like, I didn't really think it at first, and then when I thought more about it, I'm like, oh man. The one thing, this thought quickly ran through my head, and I will say I quickly cut this thought out, was I was sitting getting ready to publish the audio for that question, and I'm like, I really don't want to publish that joke because I know that no matter what, the rest of the answer I could have said absolutely anything. I could have confirmed CM Punk's return and nobody would have cared because they'd have picked up the joke because that's just the way the world is now. But I'm like, I need to put it out. I can't edit the joke out because, and this ended up happening, I'm going, if anybody else was to put the audio up of that interview and people found out that I've cut out a joke, I've manipulated the media that I'm putting out there and I've lost all credibility.
Aye.
And that, again, it was something that only ran through my head for a second, and I'm like, no, there's no, like, I'm putting the joke out there. I said, I typed up the article and I'm going, I'm not doing an article on the joke, but the video is going to be an article with the joke in it, so people can see for themselves, make up their own minds. I'm not going to be the person that sensationalises this joke and gets the trouble. But I was like, I'll put it out there because I know for a fact that unless anything happens like really drastically, I know I'll get the chance to talk to Triple H about it in the future, and if I do, then I will ask him his thoughts on it and hopefully put it out there. But I was just lucky that the very next interview I had was with Paige, so I knew I could clear it up that way. And again, that was the very first question I asked when I said to Paige, I'm like, don't want to bring this up, but I need to ask you one tough question and the rest is just going to be like fun stuff. And I did say, we'll get this out of the way, ask the question, and she kind of confirmed what I thought. Well, she's like, if he said the joke in private, I would have probably laughed and thought it was okay. It was just because of the circumstances. She thought it was a wee bit distasteful and it just kind of came out the blue, and obviously she wasn't too happy with it, but she did say that they'd had the discussion, and that was the morning before or the morning of him putting out the tweet apologising publicly for it. So the kind of thing that I think, you know, it's Triple H, and I think he's built up enough goodwill that people kind of can forgive and forget like the odd wee thing like that. But it was an unfortunate one, but it was the kind of thing that I actually, like, I think it worked out well. Like, this sounds like a selfish way of saying it. It worked out well for me, but only because I feel like I went about it in the right way. Otherwise, it could have been disastrous.
Well, obviously we're sort of wrapping up time-wise here. I was going to ask you about ICW at the moment and how there's quite a heavy Scottish contingency throughout WWE, but maybe we could get you on at a later date to talk about that in more detail. So, Ricky, do you want to finish us up for the wee session here?
Yeah, I think I might know the answer to this just based on how the conversations went, but has there been a moment in your career that you're extremely proud of, or just maybe if you want to, it might not be one specific thing, it would be a combination of different things, but is there anything that kind of stands out? You're like, I'm extremely proud of that, whether it be like an interview or meeting someone or an article that you published?
So I'll run through a few of them because I've still got a wee bit of time. I'm not too urgent yet, but I will say I'll definitely come back on and talk about ICW and Scottish wrestling in the future because that's one thing I'm very passionate about. So
good.
Definitely whenever you will have me, I'll be back on. I'm going to run through a few of these because there is a few things that have just been like mind blowing for me. The first one obviously is meeting Triple H. Like I say, he's one guy that when I was younger, he wasn't ever one of my favourite wrestlers, but obviously he was always there. And he is, like, just for what he's done, both as a wrestler, like in the ring, he's a Hall of Famer with DX. Again, I think it's like Vince McMahon, where for like, out of the ring stuff, he won't be put in the Hall of Fame until he's dead, probably by his own wishes. But I think Triple H has done an incredible amount for wrestling. Even if I just look at NXT, if I take into account NXT takeover events, every one of them has been outstanding. And for me, that's a lot of it in part is due to Triple H, and obviously a lot of the rest of the team, like Matt Bloom, William Regal, Shawn Michaels, have all had big says, and the talent as well. But that meeting Triple H is just like, it's the kind of thing where I'm like I said, first and foremost, I'm a fan. I'll make sure everything I put out there is accurate in terms of writing and interviews, but I'm a fan. And the second I stop enjoying wrestling, the second I stop writing about it. So meeting him was absolutely incredible. One that I had even just today, so I'm a huge fan of Rhea Ripley. She is one of my favourite wrestlers, and getting to ask her a few questions was brilliant. But the best thing about it is see those conference calls. So you'll go in with, I'll go in with 10 questions prepped because you don't know when you're going to get to ask your question. People might already have asked your question, so you're like, you need to go in with more stuff prepped than you ever would hope to ask. So I asked her a couple of questions, like generic stuff about obviously our match with Charlotte Flair coming up, and how she'd feel if Bianca Belair got put into the match. And it turned out there was more time, so they could have exactly, if you want another question, you just press a couple of buttons. And I pressed the buttons before even thinking of the question. And when it came back, I thought her a wee bit garbage. So I asked her about the Shayna Baszler biting Becky Lynch thing. And again, like, this is my favourite thing about any interview, is just when you make one of the talents laugh. And she was just sitting there like giggling away for ages before she asked the question. I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool, just getting to like interact in that way with people. Obviously being on the bus, the BT bus, that for me was incredible. I got to talk to with Charlotte Flair, Andrade, Paige, Sheamus, Kurt Angle, and that's being on a double-decker bus in London, getting to talk to like wrestlers you even grew up watching. I'm like, man, that's the kind of thing you just never ever think you're going to get to do. And like I said, that night I went to the launch party, and there was a lot of folk just cutting about for you to meet and kind of talk to, one of which was Stephanie McMahon, who I got to say, I got to speak to you in a conference call, which was amazing, and she was like very grateful for that, grateful for all the coverage, and like Ric Flair was another one, Cain Velasquez was another one, just standing meeting everybody. But the one crowning like achievement for me, this is like kind of a really generic being for Glasgow, being a complete mark thing, was at NXT UK TakeOver Blackpool 2. We were meant to do the post-show thing, which was essentially a wee mini conference with Triple H just to speak about the event. So after that, what you do is you get told a designated point of the venue to go and stand at. If you're a journalist, WWE do it the right way, where they always put you behind the hard camera, so you're never on screen, essentially just so you don't compromise journalistic integrity by looking like you're cheering on screen and stuff, which is fine anyway, because again, I always say we're all fans. But they put you behind the hard cam, and then the meeting point was just at the side of the ring. So we walked to the side of the ring afterwards, and they're breaking down the ring and all this nonsense. They're breaking down all the chairs. So it's loud as anything, and they say, right, we can't actually have the conference. And I'm like, oh, it's going to be cancelled. We can't have the conference here. We need to go backstage. And I'm like, oh, yeah, dancer. So got to go backstage, and that was like it was two specific things that happened, or kind of two and a half. Where we're walking backstage, and they're like, obviously the rules apply, no photos, don't like talk to anybody, just kind of follow us through. We'll go to this specific place. This was maybe me and about 5 other people, maybe 6 other people. We'll go to this specific place where they've got the board set up where they do all the interviews for backstage, with it, like the media board. Cool, walking through, and Joe Coffey, who had interviewed earlier that day, and who I've spoke to, and again I always do this thing where I'm a Rangers fan, obviously he's a Celtic fan, where I'm like, mate, you'll hate me because I'm a wrestling journalist and a Rangers fan, so that's like your two worst nightmares. But I was walking through, and obviously he'd just finished his match with Walter and was still looking pretty tired, we'll say, pretty knackered, because it was a long match and obviously a physical one with Walter. But he looked up, and before I said it, he was like, alright Gary, I'm like, remembered my name, that's brilliant. It was just one of the ones. I'm going, obviously a lot of Glasgow wrestlers do. You're going, he's hit the big time, he's in WWE, and he remembers my name. That's pretty cool. But the two bits, like the main bits was, so I went backstage. My mate always slags me for this, because and like there was 2 moments. The first one was I turned round and I seen Triple H and Shawn Michaels talking to each other just about the event, and I'm like, fuck, if I could take a photo of that would probably be like just. Nobody would ever believe that I was standing backstage in WWE watching these 2 legends talk about the event they've just put on, which I'm like, that is mind-blowing. But the second one, that I don't know why it blows that out of the water, my mate always slags me for this, because he's like, nothing can beat like seeing Shawn Michaels and Triple H just talking about the event, as I turned round, and I forgot to work there, and I was like, there's Prince Albert. I was like, there's Tensai.
Prince Albert?
Matt Bloom standing like, literally like a couple of steps behind me, and I'm like, I don't know why that was the kind of thing that blew me away that much. I think it was just no expecting it. And he's like, mate, my mate has gone, you've just seen Triple H talking to Shawn Michaels, and you're going to talk to Triple H 2 seconds later, and you're like, there's Matt Bloom, marking out for Matt Bloom. I'm like, it's just the kind of thing, like, there's just the wee odd things that you don't really expect to see, and they'll always take you by surprise. But that's definitely one of the highlights, weirdly enough, in that list.
That might be the first time Matt Bloom has been mentioned on the Ricky and Clive podcast, so well done.
And they got a fair few mentions there as well.
Aye. Well, Gary, thanks very much for coming on. As I say, we'll try and get you on soon and talk about the exciting stuff that's going on for ICW and Scottish wrestling in general. But before you go, you want to drop all your details for us?
Aye, definitely. I'll just say thanks for having me on. Like I say, it's the kind of thing where I'm like, even if it can be like 5, 10, whatever minutes, I'm always happy to come on if I've got the time and I'm no like in work and subtitling, then I'm happy to come on and talk about absolutely anything you want to talk about. So just give me a shout and I'll happily come back on.
Good stuff.
But I'll do the shameless plugs. Thankfully, you've put a load of them in there for me, so I don't need to do too many. But I'm Gary Cassidy on Twitter. So if you search my name, hopefully I'll come up. I've been trying to get the @Gary Cassidy handle for ages off someone that's got like 20 followers that doesn't even use Twitter, but they're no for giving up, so I've accepted that, and I've got like my handle printed on a few things, so I'm like, I don't really want to replace all that. So it's just it's Conscious Gary, it's ConsciousGary. If you go in there, the one thing that I always like want everybody to watch is the like you mentioned earlier, the BBC The Social video, which I've got pinned. Mm-hmm. I've done 2 of them. The first one was about being on the receiving end of the question, you still watch wrestling, you know it's fake, right? But the second one, which obviously that one resonated with a lot of people and it was pretty cool, but the second one, which is the one that I'm kind of most proud of, was the William Regal interview, and that was essentially the easiest interview I've ever done, because I said to William Regal, would you be able to talk to me about wrestling, Scottish wrestling in particular, if I just say to you, like, this is the topic? No worries. Again, the weird thing about that is he introduced himself to me as Darren, and I'm like, that's the weirdest thing ever. So that was the highlights as well. But no, so I just said to him, all right, mate, can you talk about Scottish wrestling? And off he went. And this video is edited down to like 3-4 minutes, but he spoke to me for 15 minutes about sharing a hotel in Shetland with Justin Thunder Liger, about pretty much that. The weirdest things ever, and then just about the Coffees being the first people he contacted for the UK tournament, and they weren't available because they were doing more of the sport. A lot of stuff like that. There's just a lot of nice wee plugs in there for places in Scotland like Bucky and Wick and stuff like that. So if you go on my Twitter, that's the very top video. Everything else is linked for there. My Sportskeeda profile is linked for there, so you can go and troll through all my stuff and see what rubbish I've been talking and hold me accountable for any stories I put out there that are accurate.
We will, definitely.
If you go on there, you'll see everything on my Twitter, so feel free to do that, or obviously, hopefully I'll be on here again, so if you keep tuning in, you'll hopefully hear me again on this very show.
Fantastic.
We really appreciate you taking the time to come on.
No, thanks for having us on, I appreciate it.
Right, cheers Gary, thank you.
Right, thank you.
Cheers guys,
right,
thank you.
Care.
Cheers, bye.
Right.
Well, Ricky, I think I'll have to sort of reconsider my stance on wrestling journalism as a whole. That was quite the frank and honest interview. It was a really good one. Glad we had him on. No,
it was really good. In the fact that Kai said himself that he doesn't like to be called a journalist. And I think the most impressive thing there was that the one thing I've always wanted people to do is for people to be held accountable for what you say and do and stuff, especially like reports and when you put stuff out. He seems to be like, well, when I put something out, I will be held accountable for it because this is my work and this is, so I appreciated that. I really like that. And the fact that he said he's happy to come on again and talk ICW or talk Scottish wrestling in general, we'll definitely be having him on again,
Aye, definitely.
Hopefully as soon as possible.
Excellent. Good stuff. Right, so moving on to the second portion of the show, we're going to look at what has turned into quite a divisive NXT takeover from Portland this past Sunday. We were going to have a large sexy black man on the show, but Keith Lee couldn't join us this week, so Rance Morris, how are you today, sir?
Hey! If I'm second to Keith Lee, I'll accept that. I'm good with that. What's up, guys?
All good, sir. Yourself?
Good, man. It's good to be back together again because, the show is called the Ricky and Clive Wrestling Show and Friends. I'm the and Friends part, so it's good to be back.
And if you sort of mishear the Friends part, it does sound like Rance.
There you go. Like if you say it with you guys' accent really fast, sounds like me.
So, Rance, how did you enjoy NXT TakeOver Portland?
So, man, boy, that was that was I was exhausted watching the end of that show, emotionally, physically. I think that might be easily top 3, top 5 takeovers of all time.
Really?
But yeah, oh my God, it was one of the best they've ever done. But the shit that was either nothing was bad, but the stuff that just stood out really stood out, and not in a positive way.
Right. What about you, Ricky?
I would echo that. I would go as far as to say that it's one of the very best wrestling shows we'll see. For match the match quality itself. Like I said, a couple of things bothered me, especially the ending. But I mean, just purely for the matches and what we witnessed, phenomenal. Pound for pound, like I say, as good as any takeover you've got in any wrestling show you'll probably see, I think.
I do agree, and that tag team match was wild, absolutely wild. And I said to you privately on Monday morning, I think, I said, is it just me or has Pete Dunne actually got better? And I know he's only in his early 20s, but I know it was also in a sort of 4-man match, but Pete Dunne stood out as an absolute star in that match, and it was organised chaos with that sort of British strong style thing that they all bring, really. They've got that sort of nasty MMA streak going on, and it was just pulverising. But the Dijak and Keith Lee stuff, that was bonkers as well. I don't really have the words for that match particularly, so please someone help me out.
Well, to go back to the tag match for a second, the irony of you saying that they all kind of have the MMA hybrid kind of British strong type style is that the only one who doesn't legitimately have a background in British strong style, speaking of MMA, is Pete Dunne. Because because Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly could go fight in UFC tomorrow. Like, they're that trained in those arts.
Uh-huh.
And, Matt Riddle was a top 5, I think it was a welterweight when he was there. So, Pete just came from, where did he come from? He came from Dudley?
Yep.
Midlands area, yep.
Yeah, so he just picked it all up naturally. He's just a savant. If we want to start with the Keith Lee Ajakovic match, that match reminded me of I know Mooch hates Ricky, excuse me, sorry. Kayfabe.
Shoot name Claxon.
I know Ricky hates comic books, but your son loves them. So, have you guys seen the Superman Man of Steel movie with Henry Cavill?
Loved it.
You remember the final fight between Superman and Zod?
How could I forget it?
That's what this was. That's what that match was. It's ridiculous. And then I'm not even a big fan of doing stupid stuff to do stupid stuff. But when it's done by a guy 6'2", 320 and a guy 6'6", 275, I kind of give it a pass.
What I loved about this one, Ricky, maybe more than the others, because obviously it had the takeover length and the sort of luster of many thousands in attendance, as well as the crazy spot monkey stuff they did. I mean, Dijak's springboard on somersault onto the chair, was a couple of inches, and Dijak was paralysed for life.
Yeah.
But there was the big men spots as well. They were charging each other in the ring, slowed it down, so they had both paces of just breakneck speed and the immovable object versus the something force. What is that bloody term again?
The immovable object versus the
irresistible force.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, like I said, a couple of watches, but it's funny. I remember I spoke to Josh of Keeping It Strong Style. I think we were on the phone to each other. Yeah, we were. And we were talking about we don't actually mind botches in a match. The problem is when you maybe try to recreate that spot again and then maybe you fuck it up again or whatever. It's just all right, we fucked it, let's just move on. Shit happens. And we've said it so many times, when sometimes you see things looking a bit chaotic and a bit that didn't look very fluid, it kind of adds to it because it's a fight at the end of the day. I didn't think it was possible for the previous matches to be topped. This was my favourite out of this is our fourth match now, I think.
I think so.
It was unbelievable. This was my favourite, like I said, out of the 4 matches that they've had so far.
Mm-hmm.
that should probably draw a conclusion to. Also, we shouldn't really see these two in the ring again. I don't think, as great as in-ring action it is, I'm ready to see Keith Lee move on to something else now.
And
sorry, you go.
I was just going to say, it's hilarious you brought up botches real quick before we move on from that, because the botches helped the match. Like the Spirit Bomb where Dijakovic, he hit him so hard he ended up standing on his feet.
Yes, that's right.
Like, that was amazing because it looked like it was supposed to happen, but that was a botch.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, like because they're two titans, they're two Herculean behemoths. Like, you like that, you know, that
very nice.
diverse words come. Thank you.
Beautiful.
Hashtag journalism. Since this is a real journalistic show now.
Yeah.
You know.
Reporter's show. Not journalism, it's still a bad word.
But no, man. But it helped, yeah. I think the botches helped the match, to your point, Rick.
Yeah, and sometimes that like you say, that can happen. And they weren't like so glaringly obvious where it was like, oh, that just looks so ugly. Like you said, it kind of helped and kind of tied into some of the things. Because when, I can't remember, was it the, what was it going for? Was it going for a powerbomb? No, I can't remember. Dijakovic, and he kind of like stumbled and couldn't get Keith Lee up. It's like that could tie into the whole story that, oh, Keith Lee's such a big dude, you know. So
the feast your eyes at the end, yeah.
Yep. So, yeah, man, like one of the absolute very best matches. It'll be, I think it'll be right up there in terms of one of the matches of the year. Certainly when it comes to like an NXT WWE perspective. Just a great way to start the show. Great way to start the show.
It wasn't even the top 3 match of the night.
Well,
that's the crazy thing.
That's.
It may have been my favourite.
Well,
it's hard for me to pinpoint, but it was in my top 3 definitely.
Well, if I may steal from my tag team partner Kyle and use some journalism to kind of segue, my favorite match was the next one.
I wonder why. Dirty beast.
I mean, other reasons, but that didn't hurt. But other reasons.
No, you would think it would be hard to follow the whole follow that MFers, but Tegan Nox and Dakota Kai put on a very good match. I thoroughly enjoyed it. The violence was on point. What I liked specifically about it was you had the random appearance at the end of Raquel Gonzalez, sans chapless leather pants, which was a shame. But at first I was thinking, that's a bit random. I mean, you've got quite a few other women on that roster who could easily fill that space. But the beauty of that is Dakota Kai has been so self-destructive recently that she's alienated everyone, both heels and faces. Nobody wants anything to do with her. So who else would you bring in apart from someone completely new? And it was a bit of an ugly bump that Tegan Nox took at the end there, but this match was rife with the old symbolism with the... You said to me it was a laptop. I thought it was the base of the bell, Rance. Remember was it definitely a laptop?
She hit her with the knee. It was a laptop. No, it was a the space of the bell doesn't make that type of a pop. That was a damn laptop. But
to hit that with the knee, the chain with the knee, sort of chain symbolising the cages they were locked in at the chamber at War Games, and when Dakota Kai's head was trapped in the chair and it looked as if her head was about to be punted off. That was sort of indicative of their altercation at War Games. It was just, I was in love with it. In love with the match, Rance.
Excuse me. Okay. So the reason this was my favorite match is because I think it was impeccably wrestled. And it wasn't violence just for the sake of violence. And far too often, I think, with deathmatch wrestling and hardcore wrestling and how often it is and how much there's gore for the purpose of gore and doing crazy spots for the purpose of just having crazy spots, it kind of takes away from the point of why you would do the crazy spots. Everything in this match had a purpose. You mentioned it. The laptop was to the knee was a purpose. Having the chain, there was a purpose. Like, everything in that match had a purpose. But besides that, I think these two women, who both of whom had never had a singles match in a takeover, both of them, the fact that they went out there after the spot that they were given, and to almost be the change of pace bathroom match, and to go out there and wrestle that well of a match and get the crowd that interested, like it was beautifully done, and like they deserve a massive round of applause. And I think it was the perfect ending, because not only did you, like you said, did Dakota alienate everybody, she needed to somebody else had to come help her, but it's a hoss, and it's always good when a smaller person has a big person watching their back. So now, if Tegan wants to go to Dakota, she's got to go through a damn near 6 foot, huge Texan woman. Yeah.
Ricky?
Pretty much everything Ryan said. It wasn't my favourite match tonight, but it was still a really good match. Like, the story will continue. Actually, I don't really have much more to add on to what Ryan says. I think Ryan's pretty much nailed everything there in his assessment.
Well, the next match, and I did mean to get back round to watching it, it's just time has escaped me, but when this was on in the house, kids were playing up, I was distracted, so I don't really have much to add with regards to Finn Balor and Johnny Gargano. So if you want to go ahead with that one, you can give the first take on that, because I've not got much to add to this one, really.
This was a match that I was most looking forward to. It was pretty damn good. The moment where Finn had him in, like, the headlock, the scissor lock, and we started doing the press-ups.
That was amazing.
Just like a little shit, you're like, you arrogant bastard kind of thing. Thankfully, the right man won. I think, obviously, based on what happened later on that evening, you can understand why they went with Finn, because now everyone forgets about Gargano losing, because this was Gargano's first big match back from his injury, etc. It delivered in every sense it you expected it to. I wouldn't have minded it being longer, the feud itself, as opposed to, like, I don't mean the match. Obviously, like I say, they're going elsewhere now with Gargano, and I don't really know what the plan is now with Finn. Maybe they'll go Finn Adam Cole at some point. But that's heel on heel. Will they do that? We'll see. I thoroughly enjoyed this match. I think it was probably my gun to my head, probably my second favourite match of the night, if I'm honest. I would say probably after the opening match.
So this match and the main event suffered from an issue that I'll wait to really get into the main event, but kind of like I think the over necessary bloat of the main event style of NXT, and we'll talk about it when we get to Cole and Ciampa more. But so I'll give 3 quick points about the match, because it was a great match. So my first point was it was a wonderfully wrestled match, but I didn't care about it until like the second half, because I knew it was going to be 30 minutes. So like mentally, I'm like, I'll just pay attention to it and really get into it when I know they're ramping it up, because I know Gargano matches. Like, that's something me and Clive kind of laugh about personally.
Oh, yes.
About Gargano matches. The second point was, and maybe it was because of I wasn't against the match. It was actually one of the matches I was most excited about going into it. But maybe it was because of kind of that apathy of going into it in the first half. But it felt almost heatless for a while until like they ramped it up. So like in my mind, I looked at it as maybe the best match you could watch in a long time that didn't really matter. That was just to me. I'm not, because I don't want to make that like that was like Portland loved it. Everybody I've talked to loved it. That was just to me. But lastly, and I think most importantly going forward, man, look, Finn Balor, they got something with dude. Like, I don't know, maybe whenever somebody's like not doing well or they're like, they're stuck or they're stagnant, go get married. Because, like, Sif dude got married. My God. Like, my favorite part of the match is, there's a joke in here, Clive, was at the end when he beat him. And, like, he stood over him for, like, 45 seconds in his face, like, paintbrushing him and talking trash. Mm-hmm. And the ref's like, bro, the match over. Like, I love that. Mm-hmm. Because you can tell, like, he's really locked in. He looks amazing. Finn Balor's a star, and much like Aleister Black had to kick the alignment out of Johnny Gargano, maybe Finn Balor kicked it back into him.
To touch on to point number 2, like, I mean, I completely agree there. Like, come on, like, Finn, or I'm talking to Gargano here, like, Finn put you out of action for however long it was again.
3 or 4 months,
so that's my issue, and I'm almost certain, I think Samoa Joe and AJ Styles' first match before their match in Australia, they started off with like a headlock. It's like, what the fuck? Like, you dude's been at your home and saying shit about your wife, like, no, like, you just
collar and elbow tie up, yeah.
Yes, you just start punching it, and that's what I loved about the Australia match. Samoa Joe didn't even reach the ring, and AJ Styles' music came on, and then he started brawling in the aisle. Kind of
epic shot they had. That epic shot down the aisle. Yeah.
It reminded me of Diesel versus Shawn Michaels in your house.
Yep.
Where Shawn Michaels is walking down, and he's already starting to take his top off, drops the title belt, gets straight in, takes it to Diesel, and knocks Diesel out of the ring. I absolutely love that. Like, so when it's a like quote unquote blood feud, or there's so much hatred there, like, don't start the match off like you're like the normal standard way.
Mm-hmm.
A minor gripe, well, not so much minor. It's a major thing.
It's been a gripe for you for a long time.
Yeah.
So I can that's to steal a rancism. That's consistent of you.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Hey. There we go. Look at us, journalists. Look at us.
Oh.
Well, hey, if we're only going by our kayfabe names, then don't call me Ray. Call me Ray. How about that?
Ray. Mr. Cash.
Nah, call me Rance.
R-E-Y as in Romano.
See, Romano is R-A-Y. That's why I do that. There you go. It was proven live on air. That's why I say R-E-Y. Because he's the only R-E-Y that I know.
Well, speaking of wrestlers who have Ray at the start of their name, Rhea Ripley.
Oh, God.
That was terrible segue. That was terrible.
Kyle Moores, put that in your pipe and smoke it, sir. That was the best segue of all time.
Oh, man. I needed that laugh. That's great.
Segway King, that was amazing. Kyle Moores, his job is over. I've stolen his Squared Circle Sage moniker, and now I'm the Segway King. Right, so Rhea Ripley, Bianca Belair. Really, really enjoyed this match. This was basically, although Bianca Belair's not like tall and domineering, this was a horse match for me. Mm-hmm. It was brutal.
She's big.
She is big, but she's not sort of, for instance, Raquel Gonzalez big.
She's like Cesaro. She's not built
yes, spot
big.
on.
Yeah.
But the match itself was a belter. I thought I was looking forward to it going in, but I was more than it over exceeded my expectations. I don't know about you guys.
Well, let me ask you guys this question real quick before we get into it, because I know we're going to talk about kind of the controversy of Rhea winning and Bianca maybe being left out. But let me ask you this: when I think about WrestleMania triple threat matches, the person who should hold the belt in my mind is always the person who needs the most help going into the match, right? I say that because the other two normally can build the match on their own, just on their own charisma. Is Rhea going into it with these three characters, Rhea, Charlotte, and Bianca, to y'all, as great as she is and as great as she's been? Doesn't she look at like the weakest of the three from a star quality wise?
Are you assuming it's going to be a triple threat?
Well, I'm just saying. Well, I'm thinking it's going to be triple threat, but even just looking at, I guess I'm trying to give credence to the people who thought that Bianca should have won.
To answer, well, we'll discuss what you've said first. Rhea Ripley was made a star in about 10 days in November.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was 10 days. Same with Keith Lee. One night in Survivor Series, and people will remember him so much that they popped big time at the Royal Rumble. Rhea Ripley, in my opinion, is already a star. I don't think she needs the addition to make it a triple threat to stand out. I'm not sure why they're wanting to do a triple threat if that is the case, but the way things ended at TakeOver, with Charlotte stomping on Bianca at the end as well, would suggest that Bianca has unfinished business with Charlotte Flair as well. I'm not really. I don't think she's lacking in star power.
Mooch, because I don't want to overshadow the match, but I know, and you guys saw my long Twitter post about this, but there is a huge portion of the internet community, largely black, who are really, and Triple H has had to speak about this. Like, it's become a thing that he's had to talk about it, that they're really, really tired of Bianca being overshadowed, because Bianca, regardless of how you feel personally about her, if you put her neck and neck, shoulder to shoulder with every other woman on that roster, in some form or fashion, if she isn't better, she's more interesting, or she has a better look, or she has a better gimmick, or there's something about her that you could argue should put her with or above them. And I think Candice LeRae is the most underutilized talent in the business. But other than Candice, like, Bianca will pop out of nowhere and get a push, and then she'll lose a big match, and then you won't see her for a while. And it's really frustrating. And in this sense, I love Rhea Ripley. Me and you, Clive, have waxed poetic about Rhea Ripley. But the one thing Rhea can't do is talk. Like, Rhea's not interesting in any form or fashion if she has to open her mouth. That's no diss to her. That's no diss. Everybody's not perfect. That's no diss. Mm-hmm. She's a 9 out of a 10. That only reason she's out of 10 is because she has no charisma on the mic. That's cool. She don't need charisma. Just sound tough. Bianca's a 10, and she don't even know the business.
I know.
So it's like, from a wrestling standpoint, she can do anything. From a look standpoint, I mean, I can't think of very many people who have, not like attractive wise, but who have as good of a look as she has. Charisma out the wazoo. She can talk, and it's not only that she can talk well, but she talked in a way that you're like, damn, that really sounds like her.
Uh-huh.
So I'm just trying to give credence to the controversy, because I think the right person won. But man, it's gonna suck for her to get left. This feels like going into WrestleMania 29 when Punk lost to Cena, and it was Rock, and it was Rock Cena again. We saw that already. We haven't seen Charlotte Rhea yet, but like, Punk would have been the heater that would have made that match explode.
Punk lost to Rock.
Bianca can make. Well, Punk lost to Rock at Royal Rumble, and then he lost a rematch at Fastlane, whatever it was. But if you remember, like 4 weeks or so before WrestleMania, Cena and Punk had a match on Raw to see who would wrestle Rock.
Was that the one with the pile driver?
That's the one with the pile driver.
Uh-huh.
And in fact, Punk has said that's the match he's most proud of because like they didn't care, and the match made him care because it was so good. But if you think about what WrestleMania could have been if that match was a triple threat, regardless of how we feel about Punk now, it would have been 5 times better than it was, in my opinion. And I think adding Bianca to the triple threat will make this match 5 times better because of the different dynamic that she can add. I really didn't mean to take all that time. I'm sorry. Please.
It's all right.
The thing with Rhea Ripley, I think for people who watched NXT UK because she was a heel there, and ever since she's been at NXT, she'd been a babyface. I think if you did present her as a heel, she would become more appealing, or would be closer to, as you said, closer to a 10 range, because she's big. She's going to be bigger than most of the people. She's more physical than just about all of them. So, like I said, as long as you just come across and talk like you're tough, then straight away you're like, that's all you need to do in your promo when you look like her. And that's what she'd done in NXT UK. So I think if they do eventually turn her heel, she'll have a little bit more charisma or a little bit more to her personality and gimmick.
Probably.
I'm not one of the people that think that Bianca Belair should have won, because you quite rightly pointed out there's only been like 8 or 9 women have held that title in the space of like 8, 9, 10 years.
Nine women in 8 years, and it's really, and remember, Shayna won it twice.
Yep. I actually think Bianca should have beaten Shayna last year.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah,
I was one of those ones that says that's when Shayna's run should have ended. I think Bianca eventually wins it at some point. I think she's just too damn good not to hold that title. The WrestleMania triple threat makes sense because, like you said, the storyline sense it's already there. But I'm not sure if they do it. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if they have Charlotte and Bianca have a little kind of mini feud on NXT for the time being. I would like to see it, because then I think at that point, Bianca wins it. And I think she does so probably beating Rhea, because you want to quote unquote protect Charlotte or whatever you want to say there. But if it's a straight up singles match, I just have a hard time believing Charlotte's going to win the title at WrestleMania. I know we're quite a far away. I just have a hard time believing that.
I don't believe it either, which is part of the reason why I think throwing Bianca in will make it more interesting. And I want to throw it to you. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to take over, but I want to make one more point before you say your points, Clive. But if you to kind of speak to my point about the charisma of Rhea not working, you put them together and have Rhea and Charlotte stand off. It looks great, but the dialogue hasn't worked. They haven't really had much of a reason to want to fight each other. Rhea's not that good in the mic at all, let alone as a face. The one segment that worked was the segment with Bianca, and Bianca had the least to say.
She hardly spoke.
And that's my point. That's why I think her as the heater in that match could make it so much more interesting. Just her facial expressions and one saying, "You don't even go here." That's all she had to say. And like, boom, we hot now.
With regards to the upset people have had for Bianca not winning on Sunday, whether we like it or not, and it's probably one of the biggest things that fans have an issue with, is that WWE play the long game. And
NXT plays the long game. Yeah. NXT.
Aye. And they also, well, this isn't exclusive to just NXT. WWE show their appreciation of superstars not just by slapping titles around their waists.
Yeah.
Bianca has, similar to these girls, similar to Keith Lee, really good build in the lead up to Survivor Series. Fantastic showing in the Royal Rumble. She was in a takeover match for the title, and there's talk of her being included in the triple threat match, making it a triple threat match. Someone obviously likes Belair there, and someone wants Belair to do well. Whether it is a long game in the lead up to her winning the title at WrestleMania, that's another conversation for another day. But although she doesn't have the title, I do think WWE thinks highly of her.
I agree.
So, like many, many other things that people cry about, just be patient. And Rhea Ripley's, that was like her first proper defence since winning at the end of December, so she needs to sort of cement her own legacy with that title first.
Do you think, so this is such a weird time for NXT because there's going to be a TakeOver Tampa Saturday night, but then there's also going to be at least one NXT championship match at WrestleMania, Rhea versus Charlotte. Do you think, or do you want to see Rhea defend Saturday night too?
Ooh. No, because if Rhea does win that, and it's Bianca again, then there'll be an outcry.
Well, okay, so what I think could happen is, what if you run Charlotte versus Bianca at TakeOver? Winner gets into the triple threat. If Bianca wins, she gets into the triple threat. If Charlotte wins, Bianca leaves NXT. Something like that.
That could work.
It could work. And then, quote unquote, knowing Vince, it's Charlotte and Bianca at the TakeOver on the Saturday or Friday night. The match is a classic. Then down comes Ronda Rousey. The match gets cancelled out, and Ronda Rousey makes it a fatal 4-way at WrestleMania to headline the show.
That's a Vinceism. That's something he would do. Either that or pick the most random person like Raquel Gonzalez to run into the match. So,
So, next up is the NXT Tag Team Championship match. Broserweights, the best comedy cop double act I've seen in a long time versus the other really good comedy double act I've seen in a long time. The match started slowly, but I spoke earlier on when we started this. What a wild ride this one was. Crazy shit, Vicky.
Yeah, to think that these two came together, 6 weeks ago or whatever it was. I think their characters just work so well together.
Yep.
Riddle walks about with a hat, dancing and walking about with flip-flops, and Pete Dunne is just stony-faced, expressionless at times. Glad that these two win, because it means that actually that the Dusty Classic means something in a sense, and also that these two have actually got a direction, and that they're actually taking the tag match serious, the tag team serious. Kind of going slightly off topic, but not really. But I mean, kind of throwing two guys together or two people together to put them in a tag team. I think if you take it serious and you have a direction with them, history's shown it can work.
Look at the bar.
Look at the bar. Hell, look at the New Day. For crying out loud.
Yep.
Look at Yokozuna, Owen Hart,
Booker T and Goldust,
Kenny Omega and Hangman Page. There's so many more.
If we're honest, every tag team that's not real brothers or real family is thrown together. We just don't always see them getting it together. That's
true.
Yeah, I just mean like if you've got two guys who have been predominantly singles guys, and then out of nowhere it seems like Cesaro and Sheamus, like they were having that great best of 7, then all of a sudden they're tagging together. I'm sure there's a few others that have somehow just escaped. Well, Team Hell No being one as well.
X-Pac and Kane. Yeah,
so like I say, it can work. Fucking another great Undisputed Era tag match.
It's just...
I even loved at the start as well. Like they had enough of fucking how many fish could Bobby Fish fry? Bobby Fish could fry fish. Like,
That's
they had
amazing.
enough of that,
That's so good.
They come running out the ring, and then they start brawling in the aisle again. It's like, right, so just even in the space of a couple of weeks, there's already so much heat there. It's already quite personal. So I thoroughly enjoyed this match. Standard, great takeover tag match. You know, like, it's becoming as a norm now, where you get a great fire takeover match, tag match. I would like to see ultimately further down the road, though. I'm on board for Pete Dunne versus Matt Riddle.
Oh yes.
Like, I don't want to be like,
so he can say it, but I can't.
Aye, later on.
Like,
Okay.
You know, not right away, but you know, I don't want to be like, let's hurry up and like split them up or whatever. Because they've already shown that they're a really, really good tag team. And Clive, like you said, we did speak about this off air, where you says, is it just me, or is Pete Dunne getting even better? I think, and I says to you, is like, well, he's working with better people, so he might. Obviously, as soon as you start working with better people, you know, it's going to make you better, and he's already great. So being surrounded by people who are on like the same bar as him, you know, he's just going to put on fire match after fire match. But yeah, fucking great match, absolute great match.
What I loved about this pairing is their tandem moves aren't very conventional when it comes to sort of tandem tag team moves. And specifically there, I think it's a bro to sleep coupled with an insecurity. That looks as if your head explodes when that lands correctly. That is a devastating finisher for anyone to take.
Man, you know, I've been, ever since you said it's something about Pete Dunne that's different, I've been trying to think what it is, and I think it finally hit me. And it may be partially what you're saying, Moosh, because Kyle O'Reilly is the best tag wrestler maybe of the past 5 years, easily. Anybody he tags with is a great tag team.
Yeah.
It's amazing. But you know what it is? I think it is. You guys may have watched him before, because I know he did ICW and Progress and a lot of the British, UK, European feds. But since he's been on WWE television, most of it's been a heel. And we cared about him. We had a reason to care about him as a heel because he was a piece of shit. But as a face, we haven't had a reason to care about Pete Dunne. Like, there's no reason to really care about him other than, he does great matches, and he used to be a heel this one time. Matt Riddle gives us a reason to care about this dude because, like, he's the straight man to Matt Riddle's comedy. He's the Hardy to Matt Riddle's Laurel, if I might have that wrong backwards, or he's the Danny Glover to Matt Riddle's Mel Gibson. There's maybe not Mel Gibson, but you get the point, right? And so I think as a face, you have to have a reason to care about a guy beyond the fact that they can wrestle well. And now that we have a reason to care about Pete Dunne, the stuff that he's doing, which is genuinely the same stuff he's been doing the past 5 years, feels different.
See, as well, the Dusty Classic doesn't hold good memories for Pete Dunne.
Yeah.
And look who he was facing in the final again. So there was this, and I can understand, I know I slagged you off for it, but I can understand where you would come from with Matt Riddle or someone turning heel on Pete Dunne. But although Matt Riddle is a joker and embarrasses Pete Dunne, there is a genuine camaraderie there that Pete Dunne would not have felt worried. So he was probably coming out his shell. He was more confident, and that he had a partner who he could trust going into this, and it came out. They came out in spades.
That's a great point.
There is an actual genuine chemistry there. It's all sort of play acting, but you know what I mean. He's comfortable. Yeah,
that's what it is. Though, like they've gelled so well together, both in the ring and out of the ring. Like I said, and it's just that it's simple because you've got a Joker and you've got someone who's dead serious, and it's always like, well, the Joker's going to try and break the guy's dead serious and break down those walls and get close to him, kind of thing. I think we all probably know someone like that or been in that kind of relationship before, or at least saw it. So yeah, it's for me, it's quite a simple storyline or a simple gimmick that they've got going on.
But it works.
It just works. It works so well.
Beautiful. They're explosive. I've sort of nurtured my tastes, and urgent and explosive wrestling is what I enjoy the most. And these two guys just bring it big time.
Remember when you didn't really get the Matt Riddle hype?
Yeah.
I do remember that.
Shout out to Rab Ropes, who saw the error in my ways in the future. Matt Riddle, fantastic. And he annoys people. He annoys Goldberg, and I think Randy Orton was probably just working, but
no, definitely.
Good for him.
And by the way, I would have Pete Dunne turn on Matt Riddle, not the other way around.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Come on, man. Tell me Matt Riddle versus Pete Dunne in a street fight at TakeOver Tampa wasn't still the weekend damn near.
I know, but...
See, I would wait until the SummerSlam takeover.
Okay.
When I started coming round on Matt Riddle was during his Velveteen Dream match, and he showed heelish tendencies. He was getting pissed off with Dream, and he was getting a bit temperamental. And it was like, oh wow, he is actually more than just the strong stoner. So I wouldn't mind seeing Matt Riddle as a heel. I think it would be quite interesting to watch.
It's funny because I thought Dream was going to attack him after the match. Sorry, Riddle was going to attack Dream after the match.
Like it,
yeah, so did I. That was a fascinating match. That was good. I really liked Dream's run as the NA champ.
Shout out to Dream's current work on Twitter though. My lord.
Brutal.
Oh boy! And you know what? It's Dream's really got to be like next level, like creepy bad, to get us to forget the fact that they literally tried to break his back like a few months ago.
Mm-hmm.
But we forget all that. All we can say is Roddy better bring a gun or something. Like, wow, we forgot they almost killed this man 3 months ago.
It's predatorial. It's quite dodgy, but Velveteen's all about the shock factor.
See, I just find it hilarious that he's following one person, and it's Roddy's wife.
Mm-hmm. Oh, he's going to get arrested, isn't he?
Oh, this main event.
Right, you guys go for it for this one for a bit, because this one in particular has, bizarrely, even though this has been the case in NXT for over a year now, years, and is also the case for especially the tag team scene in AEW, but it's been under a lot of scrutiny and what's the word? Criticism because of the sort of false finish behaviour. But on you go.
Like, the match itself was great. I didn't like the neck spot on the table.
Oh,
like, come on! Like, I thought in the match against Mustache Mountain at Worlds Collide, at one point, I think it was the end, he was kind of holding his neck, and I'm like, fuck, are you just selling or are you legit hurt? Because then even it looked like Gargano kind of like looked at him and went over to him to see if he was all right, and I was like, stop with the neck bumps, like the neck spots for Ciampa. That was difficult to watch, very difficult to watch. Match itself was fucking fire. Again, Rance touched on it earlier. Like, you probably don't need that final 7 or 8 minutes. It's a recurring theme now. There's a dodgy falls fuck kind of finish of what you want to say at the end. I'm so not here for Ciampa and Gargano though. I will watch that shit. I will enjoy the matches. So it's contradictory what I'm saying. And I suppose,
but damn it, I don't want it.
Yeah, the only thing about it, I suppose, is, I guess it's the wrinkle is that Ciampa's a face and Gargano's a heel this time around. It still feels very raw. Like, it feels like we just finished that feud. Don't get me wrong, the match are going to be great, but I'm just not sure if I'm ready for it or I'm here for that feud again.
Is it my turn? Do I go or?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So as has become my Twitter trademark.
Sigh.
All right. So I'm about to tear this apart negatively, but let me start off by saying that there was no match, if you believe in bullshit star ratings. Every match in the card was 4 stars plus. Like, they were all that good. So this was a great match. I'm just about to destroy it from perspectives in which don't make sense to me. First and foremost, I think, and the NXT main event style has overstayed its welcome, I think. Because there's a time and a place for 30-minute, 40-minute matches. There's absolutely. But every single main event doesn't have to be that length. And every single one doesn't have to be that length with that many finisher kickouts or false finishes. It just gets draining and tiring when you can tell the story 15 minutes shorter. As you said, to take 7 minutes out that match, it's almost perfect, right? But the 3 guys that are involved in particular, Adam Cole, Johnny Gargano, and Tommaso Ciampa, I think this is the one problem with NXT becoming a third brand and like Ciampa and Gargano in particular not wanting to leave. What else can they do? You can't have a takeover feud with Johnny Gargano and Conor Reeves, right?
How not?
Like, I mean, I'm down.
I would love it.
Yeah, Cocaine Conor Reeves, baby, let's go. But they're at a level now where they either need to move on, or, you know, like they can't do anything else but stay in the same space that they're in. And I think Adam Cole, even though he's been a great champion, has reached the end of his. I think it's time for him to drop the belt at this point, because like it's not interesting anymore. It's the same guys and the same formula. I wrestle a great match, false finisher, and then Undisputed Era comes out, then all this nonsense, and then I win sneakily. It's the same thing, and it's getting a little tired. And then the whole Gargano Ciampa thing, I was so against, but I think you talked me off the ledge, and I'll let you explain that a little better, Clive. But this match, man, this match, it was great from an in-ring standpoint, but so much of the extra stuff just made it so annoyingly not bad, but like I mean, is there a word that I'm trying to describe? I mean, did you feel the same way?
Right. To answer a few of your points, there is a time and a place for the 35-minute epics, and personally, I'm happy with them being that length because they only happen 4 or 5 times a year. These main events. Okay, you've got UK takeovers into the mix now. I don't mind the length of some matches, and this one was one of them. It didn't feel that long to me.
Okay.
With regards to all the false finishes and the work rate side of things, like the sort of PWG style of wrestling, Adam Cole is a common denominator in that stuff there. In fact, all 3 of them are. They're all guilty of it. My issue with Johnny Gargano matches is that he comes across as just like this perfect wrestling robot. He can do all these moves. He's fantastic, but he just does them. There's nothing to sort of grip onto there. Whereas with Ciampa, you and I talk about him regularly and how we are of the opinion that he is the greatest sports entertainer. Maybe not in history, but currently. And his wrestling style, it's in the lyrics of his own song, "No One Will Survive," and he includes himself in that as well, because he wrestles a style where he wants to kill himself as well as his opponent. And
kamikaze style.
Yeah, that's it, exactly, kamikaze style. So for him to want to destroy himself in the process, that gives his matches over Gargano's more of a sort of, not scary, that's not the right word, but a sort of stressful watch.
Frightening.
Yep, especially when he's taking bumps on the table, especially when he's taking Panama Sunrises onto the floor.
Oh boy, yeah.
And don't get me started on the War Games bump, that was mental. But he's just...
And these are safe bumps, but they're just so dangerously safe.
I know, the table one was bad. But the way he sprinted, no signs of any ankle injury at all, as he sprinted probably faster than Usain Bolt to do the running Nice, I know that's not the name, but running Nice finisher, and kissed the fellow bald man in the head. That was a great moment for that fan. The match was great. I loved the match. It's at times where I can sort of put aside the selling stuff just because I'm enjoying it so much. As it stands, I am not tired of the Canadian Destroyer. I've happily watched Canadian Destroyers. A sort of comical.
Really?
So far, I might tire of them soon, but I enjoy them so far. The bit where Ciampa was in the sort of crossface, but then he reversed it and had to bring his dead arm over to lock it in himself onto Cole. With that
was excellent.
That was excellent. And so from that side of things, loved it. I was sports entertained, basically. And then,
do you think it's a case of them being too smart for their own damn good? Because they're like genius level wrestlers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Ciampa is a genius more so than Cole. Cole is just a sort of PWG guy through and through, personally.
Okay.
Ciampa, we've teased this. We're going to talk about Ciampa long style soon. But then Undisputed Era, I'm not going to go into too much detail because I've actually written a column this week which will drop on Thursday on the brand extension part of Lords of Pain. Lance, Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa, I have done a 180. A complete 180. I was sick of it. I was not a fan of the Mustache Mountain match. I hated it. But when Undisputed Era rushed the ring on Sunday night, I thought, this is exactly like TakeOver New York. When they rushed the ring and Gargano was picking them off one by one, it's like, he's going to win this, you could tell. And you started to feel that with Ciampa, and I thought, this is too close to home for that match. And then Gargano comes out, puts a stop to it, hits Ciampa with a belt. I thought that was excellent. Gargano saw history repeating itself, except it would be repeating itself for the man who cost Gargano so much misery and hell and pain, and probably sleeping on the couch for a few weeks as well. So from that side of things, this is for me is a long story arc, and I'm here for it because I was a big fan of Gargano as a heel. Remember the whole Aleister Black stuff? Thought that was sensational. And Ciampa, as you've said, has not changed his side of things. Sorry, I should have said Ricky's had to step off the show. One of the kids has woken up, so he's had to go. So Ricky, thanks you for all listening. So, but we'll speak to him next week. Cheers, Ricky. Where was I? This, what we thought was just their story was told. That was just the first half. The moral alignment has reversed, but Ciampa is still the same person he always was. The same self-destructive, kamikaze, evil psychopath, the psycho killer. And I'm ready to take that ride once again.
So when you text me this, and for a little inside baseball for those of you listening, I had to push Clive to write this column because he sent me almost 200 words of like the most poetic, beautiful description of why this made sense. And I was like, wait, what? And like it talked me off the ledge because I was really upset. And you know I'm an NXT stan. So like I was really just like disgruntled and disappointed and not excited about the future. And you sent me this and made me rethink my whole reasoning. And so with everything you're saying, not only does it make perfect sense, but Ciampa keeps talking about he wants his life back. Gargano's not ready for him to have the life back, because him having that life back means Gargano can't have that life that he had. Mm-hmm. And go even deeper, if you remember, the reason that Ciampa turned on Gargano in the first place was because he knew he was hurt, and he knew the crowd would forget about him because they loved Johnny more than him. They never truly loved him. Now the crowd truly loves him, and Gargano can't handle it.
Oh, Raymond.
It's beautiful. Especially, and then it's I meant to text you this the other day, but it's not a coincidence. Gargano tweeting out the old heel version of his logo. Yes. And I said to you, like, it don't mean shit. But there's a reason he wore that and then got destroyed by Finn. Mm-hmm. Foreshadowing. Because he knew in the back of his mind, I can't really focus on this because, like, Ciampa can't win.
Mm-hmm. See, when Gargano was on the rise, ready to face Almas, Ciampa was forgotten about entirely at that point.
Yep.
And what's been happening the last couple of months, Gargano's been injured, and he's in a sort of... I wasn't that bothered about this Finn Balor match. He was Gargano was an afterthought while Ciampa was on the rise. It's mirrors all the way.
Go deeper, Clive. Go deeper. So, Gargano got hurt before they went into War Games. Mm-hmm. Right? Not only did Ciampa fly the flag of good against the evil Undisputed Era, but he flew the flag of NXT against the WWE, against Raw and SmackDown. He was the captain of Team NXT. He was the guy that they put in front to we're going to put Reigns in front. We're going to put Seth Rollins in front. Well, we got Tommaso Ciampa. Who calls himself Mr. NXT? Johnny Gargano couldn't do it, but who could?
Mm-hmm. And to go one further, I'm kind of spoiling this column here now, but Gargano cost Aleister Black the title with a belt shot.
Oh, God.
And his life was ruined therein, from that, and Ciampa became the king. What did Gargano do this week to make sure that Ciampa did not become the king? A belt shot.
Your new nickname is the Bard, because you just speak in poems.
Well, I write better. I write better than I speak, but yes. Telling you, okay, it's got that PWG Indie Mania wrestling style, but the story that has been told with these guys is top notch, and that's why I am all for this feud continuing.
So here's my only issue and my only question. I can understand wanting to finish the story that was never finished a year ago now, right?
Yep.
I can respect that. I can respect that Gargano never wants to leave. Ciampa said he'll retire if he has to leave, and all this stuff. I can get them coming to a final conclusion. Hell in a Cell, Falls Count Anywhere, something crazy. I'm down with that. The Wednesday after TakeOver Tampa, are we still having these two feud? Or are we done? Because I don't want to see these two around each other anymore for a while. And that's why I was so happy they made up. Because they cool now, they ain't got to be in the same space. But now, I just... NXT is such a great program, but the quality of the show is almost... It hasn't been hurt yet, but it's on the precipice of being affected if all we're going to continue to see is Gargano Ciampa taking up 2 segments and Cole hogging the belt. And I'm a huge fan of all 3 of these people, but we need... why do we love the Keith Lee match so much? Because it was a great match with two people who don't get that opportunity.
Yes.
Rhea versus Bianca. It was a great match between two people who don't get that opportunity. Like, that's why it was so beautiful. That's why we popped so hard for Matt Riddle and Pete Dunne, because Red Dragon has held the titles practically for the past 3 years. Mm-hmm. But now, like, the top of the card is basically the same. So where's Dream gonna go? Go lower on the card than that. Where's Damian Priest gonna go? Or Killian Dane? Or Cameron Grimes? Or Kushida? Kushida is a huge signing and hasn't had a one takeover match. Like, but they can't do anything because we're spending so much time focused on Adam Cole and the Undisputed Era taking over and controlling the company, and Gargano Ciampa version 17.6 or whatever it is now.
Well, you're right. I mean, we are recording this before the first Wednesday after Portland, so we might end up getting a triple threat between the three at WrestleMania weekend: Cole, Gargano, and Ciampa. That is possible.
Shit! I didn't even think about that. Damn.
Is that just me?
I didn't even think about that.
I even think that here we go again. I think that Cole's going to drop the title before then on TV.
Oh, of course you do. Of course you do.
And it'll be a random match with Gargano, because Ciampa has taken a Twitter blackout. Ciampa won't be on TV for a while, I imagine. So Gargano's going to ask for a match, and he'll get it, and he'll win the title, like on a random TV episode. So you're going into WrestleMania season. It shouldn't be called this anymore, but call-up season. Roderick Strong no longer holds the North American title. Red Dragon do not hold the tag titles, and Cole does not soon possibly have the world title. They're going to Raw or SmackDown after WrestleMania.
It's time.
It is time.
It's absolutely time. Yes, it's absolutely time. And there's so much talent underneath them that's ready.
Oh, the mid card's stronger than Cesaro and Roderick Strong's love child.
Oh, that's a strong ass baby. That's a strong ass baby. Yeah, man. I just, and this isn't just an NXT problem. All of the shows have this issue. The Inner Circle takes up too much of AEW. You could argue that the Disciples and the Monday Night Messiah versus the New Revolution, or whatever you want to call them, take up too much time on Raw. Like, you can say that the King's Court versus the Bloodline takes up too much time on SmackDown. This isn't just an NXT thing. The difference is that Adam Cole, Johnny Gargano, Tommaso Ciampa in general, those three guys, and throw in Roddy, Kyle, and Bobby, have controlled and been at the top of every division, male division, in that brand for 3 years. 3 years.
I don't think it's ever been a chore, though, but it still is time.
It hasn't been a chore because they're that talented. Mm-hmm. But here's the point. I shouldn't think about that.
I know.
Like with Shayna. The reason we knew it was time for Shayna to drop the belt was because we were like, damn, Shayna's had the belt for a year and a half. Yep. It's a long time. That's the reason why it was time. Like with Asuka. During that entire time, did it ever cross your mind she held the belt for over a year?
It did. I was not amused when Ember Moon didn't beat her, especially the second time.
That's fair. That's fair. She should have won. You're right. But I think that's the marker for me with title matches. Mm-hmm. With title reigns is the longer you hold it, the more I forget how long you've held it, or it becomes it's not an important part of the conversation. Mm-hmm. You're doing your job with the reign. The second I start thinking, man, you've held this for a long time, it's time for that thing to go.
Yep. So looks like NXT could be in another state of flux, or state of change, going forward. But overall, thoroughly enjoyed the evening's events. Gargano Ciampa, here we go, ladies and gents.
Oh, and I want to say, going into NXT Wednesday night, it's a huge match. It's a huge night for them, because tonight in AEW is the Cody versus Wardlow match. is the Moxley versus Jeff Cobb match, is the Lucha Brothers versus Omega and Hangman for the tag titles, and they're in the big arena in Atlanta, the basketball arena in Atlanta. So, like, this is huge for NXT. Not even talking about ratings. I'm just talking about keeping people interested. Because, you know, post shows are normally the biggest pop rating wise of the month. Post pay-per-view shows. Because you want to see what's going to happen after the pay-per-view, right?
Yeah.
Well, they really got to hit a home run tonight.
Well, they will, because Jordan Devlin's on the show. Come on.
You would have been very proud. I know you're a proud Scottish man, but on the bump today, Sheamus was on, and they were talking about the history of great Irish wrestlers, and they put up this kind of like dynasty picture.
I saw that.
And it was
yeah.
Fit Finlay, Sheamus, Finn, Becky, and your boy Jordan Devlin was at the end. And I thought about you.
Jordan. Looking forward to that match. Right, due to the interview earlier, this is close to becoming a 2-hour episode. It's not done that for a long time, so how about we do a close in classic fashion with a quiz?
Let's do it.
It's fucking quiz time with Ricky and Ray, as in Mysterio, and Ricky's not even here. I should have just spliced in the jingle itself. A fucking WWE quiz. Dun dun dun. Right.
Well done.
So, with us having Gary Cassidy on earlier and him making a right good name for himself based off the BT Sports tour bus he was on, these questions are surrounding the wrestlers who were on that tour bus and the sort of interviews that he had with them. Okay. So, 10 questions. Number 1, how many times has Paige been the Divas champion?
2.
Correct. Sheamus holds the record as having the shortest match at WrestleMania. Is this true or false?
False.
What's the correct answer?
It's Kane and Chavo Guerrero.
It's not, but that wasn't... You still get the point. It was The Rock and Eric Rowan.
Oh, shit, I forgot that happened. I was there for that.
6 seconds.
Yeah, I was there for that. I should have remembered that. But yeah, his last match as a WWE wrestler.
Mm-hmm. Maybe it's The Rock that's in Rowan's cage.
Did you see the memes about people saying it's Shayna? That wasn't the case.
Number 3. Kurt Angle held more main event singles titles in which company and by how many? So WWE or TNA?
Well, the answer is TNA for sure, but it's by... by 2.
He held 6 apiece.
Damn.
So there was 6 in TNA. World champ a couple of times, more than he was WWF champ, I think. But there's also the time where he was the WCW champion.
Mm-hmm. And he was World Heavyweight champ a couple times.
Number 4, how many takeovers did Andrade Almas wrestle on the main card of Takeover? Like, how many times was Almas on the main card of Takeover?
Oh, okay. He debuted against Ty Dillinger.
Mm-hmm.
The next time he fought against Roddy. Then that was in San Antonio. Then it's the Gargano match. There's the McIntyre match. I'm gonna say it's 5 or 6. I'm gonna say 6.
A staggering 8. So
8.
You had Ty Dillinger, and it was Bobby Roode first.
Bobby Roode, that's right. I thought it was, yes, Bobby Roode's first, and then he did the match with Roddy.
Then he did the match with Roddy, and he actually already wrestled Aleister Black a year prior, I think. Then Johnny Gargano, as we know. Then Drew McIntyre.
Oh, well, Aleister beat him for the title.
Yep. And then Aleister Black.
Yeah. Okay.
It was actually 2 times he fought Gargano.
They fought 4 times. So yeah.
That's 9 then.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Because the first time was at a random match one week, and then it was for the title. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's right. Yeah.
Number 5, how many NXT Women's Championship matches has Nikki Cross competed in?
It doesn't matter if it's TakeOver or not, right? Just in general?
Yeah, just in general.
So there's the match against Asuka.
What a match.
Yeah, I knew you'd talk about that. That's like one of your favorite matches.
It is. So is.
There's the Fatal 4-Way that Ember won after Asuka finally retired. 3, and then the one against Shayna. So it's 3.
Correct, well done. Charlotte Flair has held which title more, the Raw Women's or the SmackDown Women's Championship?
Well, fuck, damn, they're like tattooed on her belt, on her stomach, so. Oh, okay. We're gonna go with SmackDown because she was there longer.
Well done. 5-4, that one. Out of Cain Velasquez's 17 MMA fights, how many did he win by total knockout?
It wasn't as many as you'd think because he was a wrestler, so he was a ground and pound guy. So I'm gonna go with 9.
I think it might have been Bellator that I was on. This was 12, apparently.
Oh, see, I didn't follow him in Bellator. I just know UFC, so that's fair. That might be right. Well, might be. I'm sure it's right.
What was Triple H's name in WCW?
John Paul Levesque.
There was also another name beforehand.
Oh, the original Terror Rising?
Terror Rising, yep.
Such a terrible name.
I know, it's brutal. Number 9. Ric Flair retired from WWE in 2008. Who was his opponent in his first televised singles match in TNA? Would you like a
He only wrestled. He's going to TNA shit. He only wrestled a few matches there because he was so ashamed to wrestle after he promised Shawn he wouldn't.
Will I give you a clue?
So, give me a clue because I'm between 2 people.
This person works for WWE in some capacity.
Okay.
Currently.
Yeah, so I'm going to say Hogan.
Incorrect. Who were your other 2?
Well, Jay Lethal was one of them because I know they had that amazing promo battle. And Foley, probably the other.
According to the very reliable source Wikipedia, his first singles, he was in loads of tag matches, but his first singles match was with Abyss.
That's random as fuck.
I mean, he had a match with Hogan in Australia before all this, but that wasn't.
Yeah.
That was the tour thing.
Yeah.
And number 10, last question. How much fish could Bobby Fish fry if Bobby Fish could fry fish?
So I've really thought about this question. I really internalized and tried to come up with the correct answer. My answer is 47.
Oh, it's 48. Unlucky.
Damn. Oh. I'll do better next time.
You did well. Did very well. Rance, thank you for coming on tonight. That was a good chat about TakeOver.
Thank you for having me, man. I'm sorry to keep kind of bum rushing my ass on the show, but I'm never off at this time, so. Happy
to have you on. It was just, we had to delay it a wee bit tonight with the Gary Cassidy interview, but I'm glad we got you on eventually. And for the first time in quite a while as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like we're a family again. Aww.
2 + 1 is 3. 3 is family.
There you go.
Do you want to drop your deets?
Sure. You can find me at, what's Gary Cassidy's Twitter?
At Conscious Gary.
You can find me at Conscious. No, you can find me at It's Ray Cash, REY in Mysterio, CASHS in dollars. Of course, I am one half of the currently on hiatus, but soon to be this week, tomorrow wise, back at it, Outsiders Edge show at Outsiders Edge CS. We are proud members of the Chairshot Radio Network, which is in conjunction with e-wrestling news where you always use your head. And my favorite wrestling show is the Ricky and Clive Show. Yay!
Likewise, sir. SMCU is great.
SMC though? Really? Is that where we're going?
You know I've got love for the Edge.
Don't call me by my slave name, sir. Okay?
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been a jam-packed double bill episode of the Ricky and Clive Wrestling Show, only on the Social Suplex Podcast Network, where you can find other shows such as One Nation Radio, Keeping It Strong Style, Grown Men Watch This Shit, Get in the Ring, and All Things Elite. You can get, if you wanted to, you can donate money to the show through the show notes. There's a link on the sort of paragraphs that you get when you download the podcasts. You can also go to prowrestlingtees.net for Social Suplex t-shirts. So help us become podcasting house husbands if you can. If you want us to reach more people, help the algorithms out, go over to your podcast app of choice. I believe Apple is the best one for that. Give us a nice 5-star review. Go to socialsuplex.com, where you can get the podcasts and columns sent directly to your email inbox by pressing the subscribe button. As I said earlier, my latest column will drop on Lords of Pain at some point on Thursday. The Wrestling Squared Circle Facebook group, type in the Wrestling Squared Circle and you'll find us there. And we are at Ricky and Clive on Twitter. So before we go, I found out what was on the note, if there was any complications in Tommaso Ciampa's surgery.
Uh-oh.
If there was any complications, it say, like, it was asked, do you want people, like the DNR thing?
Mm-hmm.
And he just wrote, no one will revive.
Oh, boy. Oh, oh, God. Why would you do that when Rick isn't here? Why would you do that? Like, I need Rick to be here to see his face, right? Oh man, I've missed the Ricky and Clive. I missed the Clive joke in live in person so bad. Oh, no one will revive. That's. Whew. Oh, boy.
What can I say except you're welcome?
Hey, I'm good. That's all I needed for the rest of the week. I appreciate it. That's what I needed.
Excellent. Right, ladies and gents, thanks for listening, and we'll speak to you next week.
Thank you for listening to the Ricky and Clive Wrestling Podcast. We'll see you next time.